Hello, my name's Megan and I'm Merribek Library social worker. I'd like to acknowledge and pay respect to the owners of the land that I'm standing on, the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and pay respect to any First Nations people in the audience today. Sovereignty was never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I'm here at our library in Coburg in Naarm, the inner north of Melbourne. So I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share with you about our library social work service here at Merribek Libraries, and thank you to Jane and Annika for facilitating and organising this talk. So as I said, I'm a social worker. I've been in the field for approximately 25 years. I've worked across a range of areas and contexts, both interstate and internationally, with children and families, providing counselling to sexual assault survivors, working with women exiting prison, in hospital social work departments, in housing services, with asylum seeker and refugee communities. But certainly when I saw this position of designing and delivering a social work service in Merribek Libraries, I was super excited because it's a great council to work for, and I'm really passionate about the institution and the work of libraries and the role that the fundamentally important role that they play in our community, and the amazing work that you as librarians do in serving our community. So it was a really attractive position, for a social worker. So I think that, as more libraries in Australia start hopefully advertising for social workers in their libraries, I think you'll be overrun with applications from social workers. We know that libraries are places of sanctuary for members in our community who experience oppression, disadvantage, discrimination, homelessness, poverty, mental health issues, family violence, or people who use substances to manage the impacts of trauma. So our library staff do a phenomenal job in responding to patrons who live with complex social issues or experience complex social issues. But we know that some patrons would benefit from a specialist sort of library social work service. And we also know that there's significant demands and expectations on librarians to provide information and support, and as amazing as my colleagues are, that isn't their professional remit, to be undertaking psychosocial assessments and linking people in with specialised services. So of course, really, I think it's sort of like a no-brainer, or it makes complete sense to embed social workers in Australian libraries like they have and like they are doing in the United States. So basically the pilot that we have here, the model, is really sort of twofold. So one is to design and then deliver a social work service across our 5 libraries, and then the other part of the role is to strengthen the skills and capacity of staff to respond to people or our library patrons who experience complex social issues. So some of the work that I've been undertaking with patrons or some of the themes or the issues that patrons have presented with, or the reason for referral, have been maybe family violence disclosures. So because of the trauma-informed practice that our librarians use, patrons have felt comfortable to disclose some of the challenges and the suffering and the social issues that they're experiencing. And so because the librarians have developed rapport with the patrons, they've trusted the librarian when the librarian has said, hey, we've got a social worker here, would you like to meet with her? So really this new interdisciplinary approach between social work and librarians is really a natural fit and is working really, really well, this collaboration between our two disciplines. So as I was saying, some of the work is around meeting with people who are experiencing family violence and linking them in with specialised services. Working with people who are experiencing housing issues, homelessness, including people who are sleeping rough, working with patrons who experience, who've complex trauma histories and, significant mental health challenges. Our patrons who, use drugs or alcohol. Our patrons who live with disabilities, and our elderly patrons who require services or support in their home. So that's been some of the themes of the issues and the support needs of the patrons that I've been working with. Some of the challenges that exist or that have come about in terms of embedding sort of a social work service in our libraries is that I've really needed time in order to develop the foundations from which to deliver a service. So because I'm employed by council, I've needed to sort of procure a client database system so that I can record confidential, client/patron notes. I've needed to develop all the necessary forms and policies around sort of the client work, like your confidentiality forms, your information brochure, the posters for the service. Some of the other challenges is that, being a solo social worker across 5 libraries, there's a huge demand in terms of the patrons who are needing assistance. And at times that can be challenging when you're the solo social worker in amongst, providing the service. Certainly we've had some great feedback so far, both from patrons and also from library staff. We'll be undertaking an evaluation later on in the year, but certainly the feedback so far from library staff has been that really it seems like it's having a social worker in our libraries has reduced vicarious trauma, I believe, for our library staff, because what they've said to me is that they've felt so much relief knowing that instead of just providing a phone number for the local housing service, they can refer to me. I can spend some time, undertake a psychosocial assessment, and then really, link patrons in with specialised services. The other part of my work has been sort of developing, in collaboration with the patron and library staff, some library use support plans. So some of those patrons that might exhibit some sort of challenging behaviours or behaviours of concern, I've been able to collaborate with the patrons and library staff really to, link them in with specialised sort of support and come up with some plans around to help them successfully use the library. Some of the other work that I've undertaken is some collaboration with external community services to trial this idea of pop-up clinics from the library. So given that we've only got one social worker across the 5 sites, also, trialling this idea of getting community services or welfare services to deliver a service from our libraries. So I just wanted to thank you again for your time and, for all your phenomenal work in our community. Big respect to librarians and to all the, the work that you do. Enjoy the rest of your conference. All the best. Bye.